Well, today's challenge is to track down an intermittent electrical issue. Got a rental house here where the lights sometimes work and the lights sometimes don't work. This is in a bedroom. As you see here, there's no power in this receptacle at all. And you go here, light switch, lights don't come on. In fact, I've checked every receptacle in this room. None of them work. Some days they work, some days they don't. No rhyme or reason to it. So, of course, the breaker is not tripped. Of course, there could be loose wire at the breaker, but I suspect we got a loose wire leaving one receptacle going to another. You know, it's a daisy chain. It can really mess you up. Because I've had them to where I may come in and check this receptacle, and it may test good, but when the wire leaves the receptacle to go to the next one, well, it's come loose on the back side. So this still tests good, but everything downstream is not working. So just because this receptacle lights up and says it's fine, you sometimes still got to pull out from the wall and look for a loose wire. So, and I'll go around. And that's the thing is, you don't know how these things are run, you know, from one room to the other. See, we've got another room here. See, that one don't work either. But I did notice this is a little bit unique. I came to this one. I got no power at the top, but I have power at the bottom. So that gives me an indication something is wrong here. So there's a possibility, you know, the power from the breaker box is coming into this one first and leaving, going to the next one. I don't know. So that's the first one I'm going to take apart and look into and see what I can find. Well, it looks like I actually got lucky on this one. See, if you look closely, you can see how like that wire is a little bit. Cat sneezing behind me. It must be allergic to me. So, and that's what I don't like about these push-on wires, because they're bad about getting loose. So I'm going to redo these and put them on the screws like they should be. But years ago, I don't know if they still do that now in new construction or not. But back in the day, they used to do that. This is probably about a 40-year-old house. But as soon as I pull this out, now I'll show you, we got lights in here. So now we got lights. Let me check the receptacles. Okay, there we go. So now we got power. So, and I'll check the other ones here. I'm pretty sure everything's gonna be fine. There we go. All right. So that was pretty lucky. I'm gonna explain a little bit further here. I'm gonna go back to the breaker box, show you how crazy, how hard these can be to track down sometimes. So imagine, okay, here's the breaker box in the garage. So you got a wire that leaves this breaker box. Now you may assume, okay, it leaves the breaker box and goes all the way back to that back bedroom. Maybe that receptacle I found was the very first one. Then everything downstream was dead. But what if, by chance, when the electrician, whoever wired the house, what if when they left the breaker box, instead of going straight to the bedroom, they said, well, let me hit this outlet right over here. I'm going to jump into this outlet and then jump out and then feed the bedroom. Well, imagine what a nightmare that is to find, because you have to go around the house taking all the receptacles apart until you find that one. Because like I said, sometimes they'll test fine with a light, but they come loose on the back side going downstream, the loose hot wire or loose neutral. So that can be a burger to locate sometimes. Okay, well, I just discovered something. This makes a good example of what I was just talking about. Okay, so you can hear the shop vac running in the back bedroom, so I can know when I find the right breaker. So here's the breaker right here that kills the power to it. But notice, this is the breaker, and I'm going to turn around. When I flip that breaker off, let me get back here and see it. Watch the light on the garage door opener. It goes off. So that's what they've done. When they wired this house, they've left the breaker box, went up, hit the garage door opener, then went back to the bedroom. Now just imagine if the loose wire was loose here and everything in the bedroom, everything else was dead. How am I supposed to know that this is where it's at, unless you go up in the attic to try to trace the wires and all that stuff. So that's why it can be so time consuming for an electrician, because I'm not an electrician, but if you're paying an electrician by the hour to track this stuff down. So that makes for a good example. This could have been much worse. Luckily, I was able to find it where I found it, so it was kind of a quick fix for me this time. Okay, so because I'm being safe, turned off the breaker, got my proximity tester, and I have no power. I'm gonna pull these wires out. They usually come out fairly easy. It's gonna take 2 hands, just pull and twist, and I'll put them back on these screws where they're good and tight, and we'll have no more trouble. Okay, I did discover something. I went to check how tight these receptacles are, and they're not at all. I mean, just about to fall out. So that's no good. I think if I remember right, you're supposed to have like 5 pounds of pull, and that is not 5 pounds. So got me a brand new one here. We'll put that in and get this tightened up. All right, just to give you an example. So all I do is just twist on this just a little bit, and they just pull right out. And that's all it takes. And that's what makes these things, well, I consider quite dangerous. And you can see how black that wire was getting. Of course, if you don't have a high amp situation, it may not be so bad. This dangerous part is when you're using these electric heaters. You hook up even like a ceramic heater or any kind of electric heater, anything high amp. That's when you really start getting some arcing. And imagine inside this box, maybe there's some leftover sawdust when they drilled holes in the 2x4s or whatever. And that arcing got in there and got on fire. Sometimes I'm seeing them burn the insulation way back, go back up in the wall. So that's how your fires get started. So if you got any flickering lights, track it down, see what the problem is. In fact, I remember, golly, going back 30 years ago, in my parents' mobile home from back in the 70s, it had this type of receptacle. And I went through every single receptacle in the entire mobile home and took them out of the back and then screwed them to the screws like they should be done. So something you might want to consider if you have receptacles like this in your house and you got the know-how to do that for safety's sake. So I'm going to bend my wires and put them on this, and we'll give it a test. Okay, sorry I don't have a cameraman with me today. This is a two-hand job, but you can see I've kind of pre-bent my wires, so it'll make it easy to get them on here, bend them in the direction that the screw tightens up. And I've already got my ground wire on there real good. So we'll just attach these 4 wires and we'll turn on the power and see that everything works. All right, here you go. Before I shove all the wires back in the wall, everything's good and snug. I'll shove this back in here and tighten it up, and we'll kick on the power. As you can see, the power is back on. Everything's wired correctly, and it's got a nice, good pull to it now. So I got lucky. That was an easy fix. But you can see it could have been a nightmare if that loose wire was in the garage. Man, oh man. That would have been no fun tracking down. But everything's in good shape now. So I remember one more story while I'm telling stories. I was working on a 2-bedroom mobile home. And none of the receptacles worked in the living room. Everything was dead. Kind of the same situation. I took every receptacle loose throughout the entire mobile home. Still couldn't find the loose wire. Turns out the problem was actually up in the light fixture. In the mobile home, they do it kind of weird. They took all the neutral wires. I've never seen this before. I've never seen it in a residential house. But they took all the neutral wires, the white wires, ran them up into a junction into the light fixture and tied them all together. So in the end, I was in a light fixture. One loose neutral killed all the power to the living room. So this stuff can just drive you nuts. It just takes some detective work and digging and looking. But anyway, I got this project took care of. I got lucky today. Thanks for watching. Remember, this is just my opinion. I'm not an electrician. If you think I did something wrong, let me know. Thanks. See you later. Bye.